So what have I been up to this week in my garden here in Neath, South Wales? Well, I thought this week I'd take you around and show you an all-access video of all the different areas of the garden, including some parts of the garden that I very rarely show. And I also want to sort out one of the borders. I just can't seem to get it right. So let's have a little look now around the garden. I always get told that my garden looks quite tidy, but believe me, it's definitely got some areas that I don't usually show. So let's go around and have a little look at those now. So this is a bit of a access all areas today. And maybe now you'll be able to see a little bit more of how the garden layout is. So as I turn around here, this is the side of the house where the side entrance is. And yes, we have got to keep our recycling somewhere. So that just gets tucked down the side of the house, out of sight. Definitely out of sight of the videos. And that's our garage there. And this is the area that I usually start my videos with. So from here, maybe now, you can get a little bit more of how my garden works. This is where my water butts are, and I've got 3 of them. And this is where we sit in the summer, with a few more chairs put out then. So it's not really as big a garden as people probably imagine. It's a good size. And then just down this pathway here, so this part where we sit is raised up, and then we go down lower. So the hedgehog house is down there, but there's nothing in there at the moment. And then down the pathway to the greenhouse. So I hope now you can see how the garden is laid out when you're watching the videos. So walking now just across the back, and I think my hosta guacamole is now dying back, but that'll be back. So the poster now that we've got in the seating area, that is definitely fading in the sunshine. So let's have a little walk about. And here is my little insetti banana. Not so little anymore, but I haven't really got a clue what I'm going to do with this one yet. I don't really think it's big enough to dry store, but I may just cut the leaves off it and bring it indoors. But the trouble is, this one will have to live in one of the bedrooms. So I don't really know about that yet. How do you keep yours? Let me know. So moving behind the tiki bar. This is usually the dumping ground. And this is where I keep my olive in a pot. And I've had a little bit of a tidy up today. So behind here doesn't look as bad as it usually does. And I have put away some of these pots. So it looks a lot neater now around the back here, and refreshed that pot with a little bit of new compost. And when I came out this morning from my back door, I noticed just how beautiful this fern is looking, just on the edge of the border. And considering it's October, it's really looking in good health. I do love a fern in the garden, and this one is looking absolutely fantastic at the moment. So I've been out looking today at some of the areas of the garden, and this area here on the right hand side, I'm still not completely happy with it. So I just wanted to have a little look today and just see what I can do. Now this border at its widest point is probably, I'd say probably about 2 meters deep. And it's a lovely shady area in there where I've got some skimmias and some ferns. And I do love the Schefflera Taiwaniana. But there's just something about that area there where the gargoyle is that I just can't really get right. So I'm going to have a look today. Not really buying any more plants, but just to see what I can find around the garden, just to make that area a little bit more interesting. Now this is the volcano fern that I bought a few weeks ago, and since I bought it I just can't decide what area of the garden it would look best in. Now I found out that this fern isn't that particularly hardy, probably to -3. And is it too exposed where I've got it? It probably is. So I was thinking that just the other side of the garden, there I've got the lovely Schefflera, but in there I've got a skimmia, and just in there would be the ideal position really to pop that volcano fern. There's plenty of space in there for it to fill out, and I've got 2 skimmias there anyway which I don't need, so let's have a look at that today. So it's quite difficult to get in this border, so what I'm going to do is just dig a big hole and place into this a little bit of compost. Quite good soil here anyway. I think over the years I've just added bags and bags of compost into this. And let's just add a few handfuls. And then let's pop that volcano fern somewhere quite shady. And I think under here will be a much better place for it. And once it's in, I'll give it a good water. And I think it'll be a lot better. Somewhere a little bit more protected. And I'll just have to keep on top of it now, keeping it watered. Well, are you looking to turn your back garden into a tropical paradise here in the UK? And if you are, then I hope that you do find some inspiration from our garden here in Neath, and just to show what can be achieved in as little as 4 years. So I'll take you back now and show you some of the photographs that we took going back to 2020-21, when the garden was very neglected, and we started off just by clearing some brambles that were pushing over from the neighbour's boundary. So I hope you enjoy looking at these. So there's no lawn at all now left in the garden, and all of it has been dug out to create some garden beds. We've also added a wildlife pond just in one of the shady spots, and this year we even had some tadpoles and some small frogs. So as we walk across now from the wildlife pond, you can see that that is the main pathway there that I use. And just to the left of that, this was the last part of the garden to be dug out. And this now is a large oval bed, which is full of different plants. We've got a Trachycarpus, Nandina, and of course over the other side, the tree fern. So the centre has also been dug out of the garden, and this has been changed quite a lot in 2025 because all the plants now have grown quite tall. So we were able this year just to do a little bit of underplanting, and I'm loving the effect that that's having at the moment. It's the first year that we've had a sago palm, and I am hoping that that is going to be okay throughout the winter months there. So along the side wall, there's lots of Fatsia japonicas, and these now have been in for 4 years, and they've got to quite a size. So I know a lot of people are probably wondering, how much have I spent on the garden in total? And the answer to that is, I couldn't really tell you, as I don't know. I'm too scared really to add it all up, and it's totally impossible now to do so. I don't spend an awful lot on plants, and I do buy quite a lot of my plants from the clearance section. And I do tend to buy plants a lot smaller and allow them to grow. It doesn't take long really for them to size up, 3 or 4 years. I mean, look at this small red robin. Just look how tall that's gone now. That's been in for 3 years, and that's got to be well over 6 foot tall. I've got 2 larger Trachycarpus virginiae that I purchased from B&M, and these were £150 each. So we've got one there and one over in the corner there. And that one's in much better condition than the first one that we bought. But I've got to be honest, and I'd say that the ones that I've bought smaller and left allowed to grow are definitely looking the most healthiest. We've still got a lot of the old boundaries in the garden. This is the remnants of an old wall that used to be there. And I've just left that in place. I think it adds to the character. And that runs all the way along through the garden. And then we've also got a small wall at the back of this border there, which you can just about make out. So that bed there is slightly higher. The pathways were just made using paving slabs, and really I didn't pay an awful lot for them. I think they were something like £2 or £3 each, and I just bought the whole lot they were the sort of end of range. So they were going really cheap. So one of our tree ferns there, that was new this year. And that was also a bargain buy. So I'm hoping that that'll do really well next year. And I got to be honest, I wouldn't really like to be starting a garden now, as the prices have really shot up now. When I used to buy plants going back 4 or 5 years ago, just the odd shrub used to be £10. But now some of these plants that I'm looking at in garden centres are £35 each. So I think it would be a lot more expensive now to start a garden at this time. All of the edging along the path, that was there years ago when we first moved in. So all of these stones here now are well over 20 years old. But they do the job, so I'm not going to change them. There's another example there of one of my homemade pathways. And a lot of the borders, I've just used the log edging. So I just laid down the paving slabs and then filled in the gaps with some gravel, golden gravel, and then just edged around the bottom with a few pebbles. We've added some trellises onto the walls just to add a little bit of height. And this is a Clematis Armandii. And we've also added some Gothic mirrors. And just over this side, on that wall there, which is the back of the garage, there's another trellis, and that one's got a star jasmine on. I think out of all the garden, the trickiest really to plant was definitely this triangular bed here. This was lawn, but nothing seemed to grow there. But this Euphorbia John Phillips has done extremely well in this location. In the summer months, it gets full sun here. And this was a tiny plant going in. It's going red now because of the time of year. But this is definitely filled out. And this plant now is probably close on 2 meters wide. And probably not far off 2 meters tall. And when this is in full flower, it looks absolutely beautiful. When I come out here in the garden, I do find it hard to believe that it's only been 4 years now in the progress. And 4 years ago, all of this garden was just lawn. And just look at it now. I just love spending my time out here. So walking down the path now, let's have a look at what I've planted in to try and make this side of the garden look a little bit more presentable. So I've planted there some Brunnera, and I know that's going to die back. And just to the left hand side of that now, I've planted a Skimmia, which I've taken from the back of one of the borders. So moving along, so what have I done with the volcano fern? Well, I've planted that right in there. And I don't know if you can see it, but that's in a lovely shady spot now behind the Schefflera. And there's quite a large area there for it to grow. So hopefully that'll do really well in there. And moving along now around the garden, down to the bottom. This is where the cordyline indivisor is. And behind that is the trachycarpus that we bought not long ago from B&M. That's settling in quite well. And just look at them flowers now opening up on the Fatsia japonica. So this is the very bottom of the garden. And look at Vim there. Hello Vim, what you doing boy? Okay Vim? Hello. You found a little bit of sunshine. So there is the Wolfenii. That's really not doing very well, but I've got my fingers crossed for that. And if we just spin around, the sun has come out now quite strong, and we can walk back up the other pathway. Just underneath the Tetrapanax, which still hasn't opened up in flower, and doing a full tour of the garden as I squeeze underneath some of these grasses back to where we started. So I hope now that you can just see the layout of the garden, and hopefully that's helped you with future videos so that you can understand now a little bit better. So I hope you've enjoyed watching today's video, and why not subscribe to Gone Tropical. And until next time, I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.